Everybody takes credit for this movie. Jean-Claude claims things, Sheldon claims things, but really a lot of credit goes to Mark.
What really happened in Hong Kong while shooting Bloodsport? Well, in this video, we're going to talk about the fight choreography, some other interesting things with none other than Frank Dukes. Of course, he had a huge part in that as he choreographed the fights, and well, hell, the movie's based on his life. So anyway, if you like this kind of content, please help support the channel by hitting the like button, subscribing, sharing the video, and make sure to stay until the end because we kind of take a turn in the video. We talk a little bit about that trial that happened between Frank Dukes and Jean-Claude Van Damme, and that'll lead to another area in an interesting future video. Frank, let's go back to Hong Kong real quick when you guys were literally shooting Bloodsport. So you wrote this screenplay years prior, and it was reworked by a couple of guys. And then basically you're there. You've already trained Van Damme for 3 months. Were you nervous at all? Because this is like the story on, a part of your life. Were you nervous as far as like, what if this doesn't turn out good? What if I can't? Actually, I guess he had all the confidence in the world as far as choreography because he did train with these legendary guys.
You know what? I'll be honest with you. I wasn't worried because Mark DeSalle, you have to give him credit as a producer, and I really believe that Mark doesn't get the credit he deserves. Okay, everybody takes credit for this movie. Jean-Claude claims things, Sheldon claims things, but really, a lot of credit goes to Mark. Mark was the one smart enough to, like I said, redo that whole script. Mark was the one who said, Frank, okay, allowed me to buy the uniforms and bring them to Hong Kong. Actually, when I was on the set, I go, it's all wrong, Mark. This is not authentic. This is not going to work. Well, this is our budget. This is what and I ended up paying for the gi that you see Jean-Claude in. All the uniforms, the wardrobe that Jean-Claude wore, those were from me contacting my girlfriend at the time, right? Hey, I need you to go to, martial arts supply, and I need you to get these things, and this is the sizes I want, and what have you. And I had to get Jean-Claude, like, he ended up getting 2 or 3 different sizes because I wasn't sure the way the gis were running, which one would fit him.
Okay.
And I figured, okay, we'll get one larger, we can cut it down so we have an extra, because you always want to have a duplicate in case something happens to that thing, so you have continuity in film. And we did that in belts. And Mark came up to me and he goes, you know what, Frank, I want to thank you. And he went into his own pocket and he paid me. Okay. Reimbursed me for like half the uniforms or something. I mean, he allowed that to happen. Most people wouldn't do that. They want to just toe the line. This is it, and that's it. And they'd have really crappy managerial skills. Mark really empowered me over the director as far as the choreography goes. He says, no, you let him do it. And Canon Films was there overseeing everything. So they hired, at that time, an experienced stunt coordinator. And then it became a contest between the choreography he would do for the actors and the choreography I would do for the actors. And then they would pick between the two of us who got it. By the time the production, all he did is sleep on the set. In fact, so much so that the
easy paycheck for him, I guess, but that's
well,
funny.
Look, the guy was working probably 2 or 3 films at the same time. I mean, those stunt coordinators in China, they work them to death. Okay, they don't pay him hardly any money. So you might be working a day job and doing this. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But the point is, Steve Lee was a great guy. It wasn't that he wasn't talented. It's just that Mark was taking a chance on something different. Steve brought the Chinese filmmaking experience to it. And we see a little bit of that in the film, in some of the in the early scenes when the Kung Fu guys are going at it. Okay. You see that. That's Steve Lee. That's his choreography. That's not mine. Okay. All right. But when it comes to the actual Kumite fights, that's all mine. And, I think that's why it speaks to people. That authenticity speaks to people. They can sense it. They read it. They know when it's right, when it's wrong.
Let me ask you this. Was there any fight cut out of the film that didn't make, the movie that
Oh man,
choreographed that you were disappointed, like, oh damn, why didn't they have this right in there?
some footage. Well, first of all, we had to recut the film because the way Newt cut it, it just didn't work, and they were
Yeah,
using the
sure.
wrong. When they cut it, I think Carl was the editor, and he did a brilliant job doing the editing. And then I believe Newt came in, and it was like a chop saki. It was all chopped up and quick cuts, and the whole beauty of it was lost, you know?
Sure, and that's why it sat
And
on the
so,
shelves for 2 years.
yeah, well, that's part of it. That's why Jean-Claude and had to go back in, and he realized, no, I did all this work, that it's a long scene. I want the whole scene. I mean, I remember him screaming at the director and the camera guys after our dailies because they did a quick cut on the death touch.
Go!
You don't see him. You see him coming up and hitting it, and then and they quick cut just his hand up here, and then you just see it, the brick breaking. And we made him reshoot where he comes up, and you can see him coming down.
Yeah, you see everything. It's such a cool shot. I love that shot.
We had to fight for that.
That's ridiculous to cut that. It literally was filmed in one take. I can't believe they would butcher that,
They butchered that. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's that kind of thing that went on that we went back, and Jean-Claude remembered my choreography. He said, keep your eye on this camera. We're going to work with that camera. I want you playing to that camera, And he goes, God, and he would always walk over. Everybody think I was always tying his belt or something, like he couldn't tie his belt. People would make up bullshit stories of him on the set, not realizing that was code for me and him. I said, every time you do it, I want you to come over and be belt tied by me. I said, because I'm going to tell you which camera I want you to play with, And so he would come over and I'd be redoing his belt. Okay, camera 2.
How many cameras were filming simultaneously?
We had three cameras working at the time. Okay. And Dave Worth kind of caught on very quickly what I was doing. He goes, come here. Says, you don't have to do that. He says, tell me what you want to do. And so we would ride in a van back to the at night after we shoot that day. And he'd tell me, okay, we're shooting this scene next day or whatever. And I said, yeah, put the 2 camera here. Could you get an inside shot this way? Can we do a handheld? And we would talk, and camera time, because I was skilled by Hubie. So I could talk to him like shutter speed. I could tell him, hey, instead of moving the camera speed, why don't we play with the shutter speed? You'll never see the movement. And it'll look smoother and quicker. It'll help him. It'll favor him. And let's move this lens or that lens. What lens are you going to use? And we pulled off some amazing stuff. That's all I can say. And again, it's a collaborative effort. It's not just me. It's just, I gave a new insight to it. I said, he gave suggestions to Dave and goes, Dave Worth goes, I didn't think of that. That's pretty cool. Yeah, let's start off at the top, and I'll do a crane chop, and I'll come right in on it. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of the magic of the movie making. Like I said, we Jean-Claude, myself, even Mark, we were really tight at that time, and as far as getting things done in that movie. You know what I mean? Okay. We were really like a well-oiled machine, in that regard. And so much so that when we had the premiere, I remember Sheldon Lettich coming up to Mark LaSalle and complaining and saying, "That's not my movie."
Really? Okay, interesting. Yeah, because the script was a lot different.
You could talk to Mark LaSalle. You can corroborate it with him. He goes, "That's not my movie. I didn't write that movie." That's before it. When I say premiered, that's when it premiered. It heard in with Canon. It hadn't been released yet, and he hadn't seen the response. That was just the premiere for at Canon itself. And I'll never forget that. And just it was like, okay, you know what I mean. But yeah, he did a great job in that regard. Mark did a really fantastic job. Again, he gave me free reign. He backed me up on the choreography and said, "No, we're going to go with Frank's choreography." Even when Newt sometimes as a director wanted to do it his way, he said, "Okay, show me the choreography." And he goes, no, I think Frank's is the better one. We're going to go with Frank's. It's different, Newt.
Mhm.
It's not the same old stuff we've seen in your ninja pictures, that kind of thing.
Let me ask you this, Frank. So, Mark
by the way, that
DeSalle,
took a lot of guts. That took a lot of guts to do that. And you've got to take into consideration this too. Imagine we finished the movie, we did that, and it sat there for 2 years.
that's crazy. I mean, that part is got to be very disappointing.
Oh, yeah. Jean-Claude was expecting the movie to come out. His career was going to start. He ended up having to take jobs driving a limousine at night. And I used to come by his house and because they didn't have the money, and I would give money for diapers for Christopher. I mean, I remember that.
Wow.
I remember, I remember a lot of, teary eyes. One day I remember being in the car. I picked him up from the airport. And I was giving him a lift back to their place, and Michelle had made a comment on the side, how they were struggling, and I remember taking off my watch and giving it to him, said, "Hey, sell it.
Really?
It's a nice Rolex. Go sell it.
Wow.
Go take care of that.
Your family's going to be okay now."
That's the kind of friendship we had. So
yeah, and I wish you guys were still friends.
I'm not. Listen, I'm not the one who terminated, did something wrong. I just tried to hold him accountable. So much so that when it came time for the trial between me and him, I broke down on the stand crying. I didn't cry because over money or this or that. I cried because at that absolute moment, it really hit me how far Jean-Claude had fallen as a person, how much pain he was in, and how no one had held him accountable. And here I am trying to hold him accountable, and it seemed like the whole world was against me. That day, what people don't realize is I had made a simple request to my attorney. I said, let's settle this case. It's going to be, if he goes to trial, it's going to cost him, continuing the trial, it's going to cost them more than what I'm proposing. Mm-hmm. Okay? He goes, what's that? He says, they pay your bill, and Jean-Claude take whatever, and he goes, gets treatment for substance abuse, and he agrees to visitation of his children at least so many hours a month, and he could prove that. Mm-hmm. Okay, and we use my award as sort of the difference of what I should get in the film as sort of like a way of like having leverage or accountability. That'll be the punishment if he doesn't do what he does. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And we can end this right here, right now. And it's all based on helping him, and it was rejected. And so so I'm sitting there, and then it all hits me. Why wouldn't he want to go take care of this? Why wouldn't he want to see his children? What is going on with my friend?
So that whole quest over the whole case over the quest and the writing credits and everything could have been ended very positively, obviously for him and his family life. But so he never took that deal, right? And then the case went on, didn't it?
Well, here's the thing you have to keep in mind. He might have taken that deal. I don't know. His attorney may have never even told him that because he wanted to run up fees. I don't know. My attorney may have wanted to run up fees. You understand what I'm saying? Although I don't think so, because he was getting paid and he was a contingency. I can't tell you what went on there. All I can tell you is that is the deal I proposed and I put on the table. And I know that Steve Kramer I sent it over. I watched him. I think he faxed it from my house, that night, the night before. And when that came down, I knew I'd have to go in there and do that. I was just moved. I started crying. I also cried over the fact that something was said and done there that triggered the loss of a child. I had a child, that was coming, and because of what had happened, we lost the baby. I mean, there's a lot of things I can go into that are deeply emotional at the time, that was happening with my second wife. And my marriage fell apart because of all the betrayals going on. And I don't know what else to say about it, Then I was sick also, on top of that, realizing I was being abandoned and taken advantage of a guy who I gave a career to, and here I am coming out of a coma, and everybody had ripped me off, and I was literally facing homelessness, you know?
So this happened like, I guess a little bit after the Zane Frazier thing? Is that time frame, or
Yeah,
because that's related to the coma, right?
Yeah, the trial happened in 1998, and the Frazier incident happened in 1993.
Oh, that was so hang on. When and why were you in a coma? In the next episode, we'll discuss the whole Zane Frazier incident, the time Frank Dukes was offered an exorbitant amount of money to fight, and some other stuff. So make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed, and because you don't want to miss that.